All right, let's talk about one of the biggest sources of wasted work and totally failed projects, mistaking a vague complaint for an actual plan. Today, we're going to figure out how to properly translate the voice of the customer so you can stop chasing noise and start making changes that actually matter. Okay, let's get into it.
Oh man, we've all been there, right? Your boss, a senior leader, maybe a really important client just drops a bomb like this. The pressure is instantly on, and your gut reaction is to jump, to start cutting steps, slashing budgets, and just showing how fast you can react. But hold on a second, what does too slow really mean? Compared to what? And for who?
Because this right here is the trap. You spend months overhauling an entire system for speed. You present your shiny new process, and the client just goes, well, it's fast, I guess, but now it's full of errors. We always cared way more about accuracy. Ouch. That is not an improvement. That is a massive, expensive failure. It's basically professional suicide, and it all happened because you took that first complaint at face value. And this gets to the absolute core of our topic today. The voice of the customer, or VOC, is the starting point for every single meaningful project. But here's the secret. Customers often don't actually know what they want, or, they're just not great at explaining it. Your job is not to be a voice recorder, just logging every complaint that comes your way. Your job is to be a translator, to take an emotional, fuzzy statement like, this is hard to use, and turn it into a rational, measurable target, like reduce the process steps from 7 down to 3.
So if we're going to become effective translators, we first have to really understand what it is we're translating. What exactly is the voice of the customer? Let's look at the official definition for a second, because it reveals something super important. VOC isn't just about what customers say they want. It's a proactive process to capture their stated needs, sure, but also their unstated needs. The things they just assume you already know, and even their anticipated needs. The whole point is to get ahead of the curve, not just play defense against complaints. Here's another common trap: defining your customer way too narrowly. It's not always the person at the very, very end of the line, the one who's actually swiping the credit card.
You've got to think about two different types of customers. First, there's the external customer. We all know that one, the person buying the thing. But the internal customer is just as critical. That's the next person or the next department in your own process. It's the colleague who depends on your work to get their job done. So here's the bottom line. If your improvement makes their job a total nightmare, your project has failed. Plain and simple.
Okay, so we know who our customers are, and we know we need to capture all their needs, even the unstated ones. But how? How do we actually do that? I'll tell you, it's about way more than just a suggestion box. You need to build a full 360-degree view using a whole bunch of different channels. Yeah, surveys, interviews, and focus groups are great, but you also have to dig into complaint logs, keep an eye on social media, and actually do user testing. And sometimes, you know what? The most valuable feedback is silence. Just observing a customer in their natural environment and seeing where they struggle without them ever saying a word can be the most powerful starting point for a project.
And now we get to the real challenge, right? You've done the work, you've gathered all this feedback, you have pages of notes, and they're all filled with subjective words like good service or a better experience. What on earth are you supposed to do with that? How do you turn a feeling into a number you can actually measure and improve?
Well, the answer is a brilliantly simple tool called the Critical to Quality Tree, or CTQ tree for short. This is our translator. This is how we take all that messy, emotional feedback and turn it into clear, actionable targets that stop us from solving the wrong problem.
Here's the basic idea. You start on the left with that vague customer need. Let's say a good cup of coffee. Then you break that down into its key drivers. What makes coffee good? Well, maybe it's the taste, the temperature, and how fast you get it. Finally, you break those drivers down into specific, measurable requirements.
Let's see this in action with a business example. A vague need like excellent service gets translated, the driver, timely service, stops being a fuzzy idea and becomes a set of hard targets. Return customer calls the same day 90% of the time. Or field service teams arrive within the quoted time window at least 90% of the time. All of a sudden, you have something you can actually measure, track, and genuinely improve.
This process forces you to create these crystal clear operational definitions. I absolutely love this real-world example. With this definition, there is zero room for argument. Is it a dent? Is it a scratch? Both the customer and the agent can pull a quarter and a dollar bill out of their pocket and settle it right there. This is the level of clarity you're shooting for. It just gets rid of all the ambiguity and gets everyone on the same page.
And that really brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. This entire process, from figuring out who your real customers are to using a CTQ tree, is all about one thing: earning the right to start working by first figuring out how to measure what truly matters.
Because at the end of the day, this is the fundamental law of improvement. If you can't measure it, you are just guessing. By translating the voice of the customer into hard metrics, you move from guesswork and vanity projects to a real data-driven strategy for making things undeniably better.
So, what's the bottom line? Stop reacting to the grumbling and start translating. Use these tools to find the real metrics that are hidden just beneath the complaints. And make sure you join us next time when we're going to give you a God's eye view of your entire process with a powerful tool called SIPOC. You are not going to want to miss it.